Good morning, and here we are at Cozumel, Mexico. The video footage here provides another demonstration of the epic circumstances unfolding around our planet at this time. We'll come back in a few minutes to notice the portentous aspects of this webcam footage. But first, a couple thoughts on the, quote, epic circumstances that I mentioned a moment ago. We're talking about the returning visitation of Nibiru and all that goes with it. This event comprises the final approach, the arrival and passing of the Planet X system. Now, of course, the entire return journey of Planet X and Co. spans centuries. From the time it completes the turn down at aphelion, the farthest point from our Sun, and begins traveling back toward the inner solar system, well, the length of that journey is something in the region of 1,600 years, 16 centuries. So the detail we're concerned with is only the last few years of that journey, where its proximity is such that we begin to see and feel the effects of its arrival. And thus, we have a royal paradox on our hands. The word paradox describes quite perfectly the situation. Let's have a look at the definition as given in the Oxford Dictionary. Paradox, a seemingly absurd or contradictory statement, which when investigated may prove to be well-founded or true. The paradox is, the mainstream scientific community rejects and refutes the whole theory and story of this Planet X Nibiru situation, while on the other hand, there is indeed a long train of evidence and numerous factors that show us that the Planet X story is real, and these various forms of evidence stem from remnants of ancient civilizations right on through to modern photographs and video captures of it. Now just there in the last few sentences, we've skimmed over a wide area that deserves much closer, detailed discussion. But the purpose of this present video is not to expand on those things here, but to note that there in the sky we can see and observe events that are highly irregular and defy our textbook school education. And last point, for a general overview of the Planet X Nibiru situation, I've done a video on this channel titled About Planet X Part 1. In addition to the general overview of this subject, the video showcases several astounding incidents in which we can see that something of major consequence is brewing here in our space. On that note, this news burst that flashed across our TV screens back in 2011 from CNN is quite interesting.
You to vote on the news, and here's the winner. There's a huge, hidden, heavenly body right here in our solar system. Evidence is mounting that either a brown dwarf star or a gas giant planet is lurking at the outermost reaches of our solar system, far beyond the planet Pluto. According to the British newspaper The Independent, the object is 4 times the size of Jupiter. Experts say the presence of such a massive object could explain why a barrage of comets has been coming from that direction.
Wow, think about that for a moment. This enthusiastic news presenter informs us about a huge additional planetary body in our solar system. Moreover, he gives the size of this star to be 4 times the size of Jupiter. And to comprehend that, it helps to know that you could fit the Earth inside of Jupiter over 1,300 times. We turn now to look more closely at this video footage from October 19th, 2018. Location, Cozumel, Mexico. Observation number 1. We've got these fluctuations of the light in the sky. Let's observe for about 30 seconds. Okay, so in that short span of footage, we saw a repeating phenomena where the light surges and builds up to a point and then drops. And that process appears to start over again in a repeating cycle. Now there's a couple factors that I'll have to address for the benefit of certain geniuses who are ready and waiting to leap forward with challenges and explanations to debunk everything we see here. Number one, yes, the video is sped up quite a bit there. In that 30 seconds, we actually covered about 6 minutes of real time. A person could say, well, if you speed up the footage like that, it makes it look like it's surging and dropping. And that's all it is. There's nothing special happening there. It's because you've got the playback speed cranked up so much that it's whipping up out of nothing, this visual effect that you've discovered. And that's all it is. Huh. You conspiracy nuts never take a break, do you? Huh. Okay, fact. If we were to run that same video footage here and just let it play at real-time speed, these remarkable fluctuations in the light would still be there and still be every bit as profoundly visible. Okay, moving on to the second objection that could be raised, and that is camera light sensor technology. I've had plenty of times where people say, those light fluctuations are just an illusion. They're due to the camera light sensors reacting to the intensity of the light. Okay, I've already carried out studies on camera light sensor technology, establishing what actually does happen and what doesn't. At any rate, for our discussion here, it is sufficient to state that the anomalous behavior of the light we see here in the sky is not an illusion resulting from a glitch of some sort. Now, in this discussion so far, our view has been on this west morning horizon, in which we see these light objects, or areas of concentrated light. So we'll proceed now to isolate some of the important aspects of what unfolds here. And one major factor to consider right off the bat is all of those light objects shouldn't even be there to begin with. As we proceed forward to consider a few more significant details, it should be borne in mind right through it all that according to the standard model of our solar system and everything that has a role to play, all of those light objects are a major anomaly. There's no normal or regular factor to account for what is seen there. Moving on. Notice what happens in the sky in a few seconds from now. There. A major flash. It's easily missed. Literally, if you blink at the same time, you'll miss it. I'll run that segment of video again, and the actual spot where it occurs is at the time mark 7:09 and 15 seconds. And we'll slow down the replay to its original speed. So now we are waiting for the time point at 15 seconds. Boom! The big flash. So let's look at this one more time by stepping through the frames of the video. And so here we are at the 14 seconds mark. And next we arrive at the time point of 7:09 and 15 seconds. And going forward one more frame, there it is. So we have an unidentified source and cause for this burst in which light is flooded right across the horizon. Now, this is not just a one-off occurrence of that light burst. We just picked that one out of a stream of such events. Let's look at one more. And it so happens there's one coming up right about now. Let's freeze that frame. And there we have it, an anomalous sudden convulsion of light. Now it's actually quite easy to overlook and not quite catch on to how extraordinary and how frankly out of order this is. The whole point of our investigation is to observe the events and indications of this Planet X system that has traveled back into the inner regions of our solar system. And the anomalous behaviors of the light that we've been observing are a manifestation, an effect of this additional influence here in our space. Another compelling detail seen in this footage is that the light in some spots appears to emanate from a spherical body. And on that point, it is pertinent to recall that there are 7 Earth-sized planets orbiting the red dwarf type star comprising the Planet X system. There are specific reasons and grounds upon which this information is established, and the announcements made by NASA Space Agency regarding the TRAPPIST-1 discovery are an example of this. I give a basic overview of the TRAPPIST-1 story in the video I mentioned earlier on this channel titled About Planet X Part 1. And yet there is one other interesting ground upon which we may know that multiple planets are involved in this incoming system, and that is, oftentimes we can see them. Having said that, I must add and acknowledge that a lot of people would have to absolutely disagree with the claim that we can see multiple planets at times in this video and others on this same subject. And the fact is, going back to about 3 years ago, I myself would have rejected such a claim. You see, for the first few years in my process of research and learning about this subject, making observations in various video footage of the sky, there were plenty of times where you would see spherical-shaped features that often would look something like a round cloud or a circular shadow. And upon first glance, you can have the initial thought of, oh, that looks like a planet. And of course, immediately upon that, you totally dismiss and dispense with such a ludicrous idea. And thus it went on for a very long time that I was noticing features of this ilk in various ways, yet also firmly set in the opinion that no way am I going to risk making the mistake of assuming that a round-shaped cloud or shadow in the sky is a big giant planet. That was my stance on it. I totally ignored and overlooked what I was seeing in such things as that. I was not going to go there. However, after years of watching and examining various footage of the sky, the sun, the clouds, well, you acquire a greater perspective in comparative reference and experience in knowing what to look for and understanding certain trends and occurrences. Looking again at this video footage in front of us, what aspect would you consider to be the most glaringly obvious anomaly present there? Would it be this peculiar surging, where the light repeatedly expands and then suddenly contracts? Or would it be the distinctively spherical-shaped light objects that we see there? Or would your first choice for the most obvious anomaly go to the sudden general flashes that occur, spreading across the horizon like that? And then there's the detail mentioned earlier that, according to the regular workings of the solar system, as dictated by all that we were taught in school, at college, in the library, and straight from the horse's mouth from the TV, All of that action going on there is a major anomaly. Let's line up a few basic facts that will help clarify what we have here. The time now is 6:48 in the morning, and we're facing the west horizon. The precise moment of sunrise for this location and date is 7:26 a.m. Thus, it becomes compelling that in our view here, a full 30 minutes before the sun even peaks above the horizon, we've already got these things that look like a sun hovering there up in the sky. And one more big twist in this overall riddle is that we're looking west. So when the sun does shine its first ray over the horizon 30 minutes from now, well, it won't be anywhere near this view. It'll come up behind us on the east horizon. So, what are those things? What is the source of all that light there? And why does it pulsate? Before bringing this video to a close, there is one more detail I'd like to point out. We've noted that a couple or few of these light objects certainly appear to be emanating from a spherical body, i.e. a planetary object. So it is interesting that these objects cast a reflection on the surface of the water below them. And what carries this observation a step further is that during those general big flashes that occur in the freeze frame of that light burst, we can see that the reflection from those two objects in particular is still prevalent, even when potentially flooded out by that burst of light. So you see, when we apply the patience required to observe and consider the framework of facts, it then begins to break through to our mind that this quiet little scene playing out before our eyes here is what? The way I'd like to complete that statement is with a music video I put together a few months back. It's a song I wrote titled Planet X.
Overnight, it seems like something changed. Something changed. Everything, 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 everything. Yeah, everything. It's long been said, the sky is red, wherein this mystery travels. Day by day, it's growing closer. Don't let the people find out, so they carry on as normal. Where will your time go? Until the day of destruction. The die is cast and the bed is made. One thing for sure is the...
Okay, once again, that was just a shortened clip from the overall song. And so, with the intent of letting my music do the job of describing Planet X and the event thereof, comes an invitation for you to click on over to my music channel and just have a listen. And the words or lyrics are displayed in the video as it moves along. At any rate, leaving the subject of my song about it, we'll close this documentary with one last view of this particular event that involves several hugely anomalous aspects.